can't just. I mean, you go to a skeleton crew. If you
One.
And they just have selected.
I'm sorry you're late. I'm late.
It should go pretty quick tonight. Not a whole lot to talk about, but we'll start out with item number 1, update on Franklin Avenue booster station and water line. All the paperwork for the OPWC grant and loan is completed. They gave us a notice to proceed. So that allowed us to release the contract to the TLV. The contract is in their hands right now. Once they sign it, get everything ready to go, get their bonding and so forth ready, then things will proceed. The procedure would be the contractor will execute and return the 6 sets of contracts to Burgess and Nyborg, our engineering firm. Burgess and Nyborg will send us the contracts. Then we will then execute the contracts. The mayor. Burgess and Nyborg will compile the 6 contracts after we've signed them, and the contractor has signed it. We will then set a date for the pre-construction meeting, which I'm guessing should be within the next week or so. And then at the pre-construction meeting, we'll give notice to proceed and distribute the executed contracts. 2 go to the contractor, 2 go to the city of Heath, and 2 go to the engineer. So that's kind of an update on that. We also tore down the 1957 booster station that was put there. We did that ourselves.
John, I don't think I've been by since I was out of town, but I drove by there once. It was probably maybe the day after or whatever, and there was the debris and the bricks and all that were laying
It's
there.
all in a container. It's all in a container now.
Okay.
There was the foundation appears to be very heavy and strong. So I think we're going to have Leighton Excavating come in and break that up for us, because our backhoe isn't big enough to break it. It won't break it.
Looks like it's awful thick.
It is.
Let the fire department have a crack at it?
Yeah, we're going to have them do Yeah, we could. I was thinking that too, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if Chief Huggins will want to do that or not.
So I'll show you some pictures of the demolition and stuff here in a little bit. Here short. Update on any questions about Franklin Avenue or anything that we need to talk about on that. I'm hoping that Franklin Avenue takes off right around the time that the bridge is finishing up. That's kind of where we're trying to lean towards. So, you know, the bridge gets pretty close to completion and Franklin Avenue will take off. At the pre-construction meeting, we'll talk about possibly them starting on the top part of Franklin rather than the bottom part of Franklin. Traffic will be maintained on Franklin as they're working, but
a 1 lane or 2 lanes?
it'll be a 1 lane when they're working. Yeah, they'll have, but there will be traffic that will be allowed to move through there. They won't be shutting the street down.
They're gonna flag that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the way I understand it. So. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and update on the water plant engineering selection committee. That is for the upgrade to the water plant that's going to take place in 2013 or 2014. The clarifier and upgrading the chlorination system, and a few small other minor details with the high service and so forth. The committee met. They compiled a list. We all received SOQs, statements of qualifications, from the engineering firms. We then graded the engineering firms and we compiled a point system. After compiling the point system, this is how things shook out. We were originally going to pick the top 2. We had a tie, Burgess and Nyborg and Jones and Henry at 318 points, Hazen and Sawyer at 307 points, and Malcolm Purney at 305 points. The top 3 firms that will be interviewed will be Burgess and Nyborg, Jones and Henry, and Hazen and Sawyer. We will actually bring them in. They will give a presentation on how they're going to attack the engineering part of this. The committee will then listen to each engineering firm, Then we will choose number one that the mayor can negotiate with. After we choose number one, if the mayor isn't satisfied with that, and he can discontinue if he wants to, or he can, if he's within the price range that we want to use. If not, then it goes to number two, and then we have to discontinue negotiations with number one. Then we can start negotiating with number two, and so on and so forth, right on down the line, according to the ranking system. That's the whole reason why those point system was put up there, so we'd know who to go to next. And like I said, and I've told the mayor and everybody on the committee that those are all very good engineering firms. All of them are capable of doing the job. But some may be a little better than others. But anyway. The engineer presentation will be August 1st, 2012. It'll be in this room. The first engineering firm, and how I did that as they called in, they got to pick what slot they wanted. So it's going to be a 15-minute presentation from them, followed by a 15 question and answer session from us. And the whole gist is going to be how they're going to attack the engineering to complete this engineering course for a new clarifier and so forth. Jones and Henry will be at 10:15 a.m. and Burgess and Nyepel will be at 11 a.m. Then we will then determine who the mayor will negotiate with first. I don't know if I told you guys this, but we did have a request from the, there's any questions on the engineering selection committee and who we're going to hear from and how that's taken. Now the money is in the budget for the engineering of this project this year. So it's in the regular budget.
Who all will be on the committee that is hearing the presentation?
It'll be Dick Morrow, the mayor, myself, plant superintendent, and an operator. There's 5 of us. It's kind of got to make sure, I got the guy who works in the trenches, I got a guy who's over the plant, I got a councilman, and I have the mayor and myself. So that's who makes it. And I think we'll all be able to have some really good input, as to how the engineering firm does and how they give their presentation and how they're going to work for us. How they're what kind of job are they going to do for us on this engineering service? I don't know if I told you guys or not, but I had a request from the EPA. It's kind of hard to turn the EPA down, but they're going to have I guess a training session at our water plant where they train EPA people who go out and survey water plants. They'll go through a water plant and survey them. And what they're going to do is they picked our plant to survey. So there's going to be about 70 people. Now this is not only the state EPA, but this is a federal.
That's what I wondered.
This is a federal EPA coming in.
Yeah.
So what they're going to do is
Can they find in it?
What's in it for us, by the way?
nothing.
Take it.
Other than we're nice.
Get out
But
to a
you know,
free
I was
card
trying
for
to-
about 6 years.
And we're under the microscope for a big audit.
Right. And I was trying to figure out how I would say no.
Yeah.
Then you would have a.
Do you want to have this presentation? Well, no. Well, then what are you hiding? That's kind of the way.
It's lose-lose, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I called our representative, and he said, "Well, we're looking for a groundwater system around your size, with the treatment capabilities that you have, and your system just came up." So,
Just so we want to hang out your place.
Yeah.
so that's kind of. And like I said, I was trying to figure out some kind of an excuse, but there was no excuse.
The guys to sign off on the
When
plan.
they come in,
For 70 years, right?
they just do what they tell you to
70
do.
years.
Be nice and grin and bear it.
Yeah.
So, the guys have been doing extra work down at the plant. I mean, we've been painting extra things and working and, clean up. And so but everything was pretty good shape anyway. So.
You run a good operation, you don't have to worry about it.
That's what I'm looking. Okay. Any questions on what I went over in water? Okay, we're now going to go to wastewater. We're going to do an update on the jet aeration installation. That will take effect this year. We are working with Mid-Ohio Mechanical, who is going to be our contractor that's going to install the jet aeration system and the digester. The digesters are now on, the aeration system's now on order. We went through the submittals, myself. We also went through some of the plant personnel, went through the submittals. Nick looked at it, didn't you, Nick? Dan Stofan, Dave Brenner, and also Mid-Ohio Mechanical, who's going to be installing it. Again, remember, this is we are engineering this ourselves to try to save money, and I think it's going to be everything's going to work out fine. The submittals were presented to Eric Mandit with Fluidyne Corporation. They have been approved by the City of Heath, Mid-Ohio Mechanical, with exceptions to items mentioned below. Here's a few of the things that we decided to change. The first set of flanges outside the digester tank on the pump suction and discharge are not really needed and are not necessary, so we did away with that. This is to look like the original drawing that we talked about when we originally sat down. We had two sets of drawings, one that was earlier and one that was later. My recent conversation with Chris Kirsner confirmed that the pump.
Who's Chris?
Chris Kirsner is the representative from Buckeye Pump, who represents Fluidyne.
Okay.
And Fluidyne's a corporation we're purchasing it from.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure that there was a stand. It is a pretty simple installation. It's nothing real, hard, but we wanted to make sure that the pump had a stand and so forth to set in. We found out that it did. We just confirmed that with Chris Kirsner. And then also the electrician that's going to be doing a lot of the work on it is our local electrician from Legend Electric. One of the items that he didn't like about it was there's a little mini cast moisture and temperature system that they recommended putting in. We have had a lot of problems with those, especially if they break down, hard at getting parts and so forth. So we asked for a relay instead of that, which supposedly does the same thing, and what we have on some of our other pumps. The pump is going to be a flight pump, which is an excellent pump. The city has tried to stick with flight pumps through the whole system, so all of our lift stations are mostly flight, except with the exception of a couple. So flights have a tendency to last longer, they're better built. Those pumps come from where? Are they Norwegian? Or are they Switzerland? So it takes about a month or so to get them in. About a month before we can actually get one. They just don't stock them on the shelves or anything. So that's kind of where we're at there. Update on Fox Run lift station removal, which is scheduled to take place next year. We started the engineering on that. The big part of it now is I have to negotiate with 3 separate individuals on an easement. There will be an easement that runs from the Fox Run lift station to the lift station on State Route 79. One portion of it is on the Martha Hoskison land. We actually have a 10-foot easement that exists with people in the backyard of Fox Run, but we needed an additional 10 feet to have a 20-foot easement. Then there is another company, let's see if I got that, I guess I did. TTG is the other company that we will be dealing with, and that's the rental place up here on State Route 79. And then Helen Golf is the third person that we will be negotiating with on the easements. So right now I have everything in the attorney's hands. He will be writing up the easements. So when I meet with these people individually, hopefully everything goes smooth and they say, yeah, no problem, and just sign on about a month. So we'll wait and see how everything comes out from that.
When are you gonna start negotiating with them?
Here real soon. I would say, once I hear back from the attorney, Dave's working on that. I'll have the papers in hands, I would say probably, hopefully end of next week, first of that week, and following week. So, you just never know about that. Some people, just, that don't bother them. Some people it does. Some people want something, some people don't. But I'll definitely talk it over with the mayor, and when we get to that point, where we start talking with people and so forth. Hopefully everything works. Like I said, hopefully everything works out smooth. A lot of this project will be done underground with directional boring. Some of it will be open cut trenches. From the rental place to State Route 79, from State Route 79 to the lift station. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I probably should have had a picture of it. But that will be directional board underneath our parking lot, underneath along State Route 79. That'll be underground. You won't even know it's happening. But
They have to dig a hole here, then change direction and bore to another hole. Okay.
so there'll be a hole out front, one there, and then one where Mrs. Goff's concern is in her yard. All she would have is where we're digging up to connect it to the lift station.
Okay.
Okay. So I've never met Helen, but I guess I will be meeting her soon.
She used to play cards with my mother.
Really? Good. I'll mention that.
Gracie might have
Did she win a lot or lose?
Gracie been known to hedge a little bit. So.
Let her win.
Yeah, that's right. Now on, let her win. So, anyway, that's where we're at on the update of the jet aeration installation. Nick, do you have anything to add on that? Anything that you need to bring up? But things are moving along very well. And it'll be an excellent addition. Nick does a really good job with the solids part of it, and that's part of it, the digester, then the press, and that's all kind of his deal about the plant. So
We'll do those digesters one at a time.
Yeah.
You got 3 tanks,
I
right?
have to. Actually, I'm pressing this week tank 3, and I'm probably going to take it clear down and put one in service and leave it down, and that'll probably be the tank we started on.
Mm-hmm.
Because during the storm with the power outage off and on, it's blown something loose down there. It's just one corner agitating, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's in the worst condition right
Yeah.
now of 3.
it's one of the things that we constantly have problems with, and why we're even looking at this system, because it's kind of a maintenance nightmare. This will all be stainless steel. They'll be in there. What we have now is plastic, and we have a lot of problems with it blowing apart. This will all be stainless steel, jets, and piping.
Okay.
Any questions on the jet aeration? And I talked about the lift station. Okay. Just wanted to. Did anyone have any questions on what we talked about so far? Okay. I really don't have a whole lot else. We do have some delinquents here that you're more than welcome to look at and pass along around if you want. It'll be submitted for collection through the county. And I wanted to mention that we capped well number 4. It's a well that we no longer use anymore. I don't know if I showed this to you in the past, I don't know if I have, but we went ahead and put a cap on well number 4. It's strictly a test well now. It's not used as a production well.
Is that one you talked about last month?
The one last month is
The one that we're having
number
problems
5.
with. Yeah.
Is number 5. It's our oldest production well. I have talked with the H&D Water Services. They are, think that it definitely was a pump problem. They're waiting on a new impeller for it, and then we will be installing that. Hopefully, he promised me next week. So, or late part of this week. I threw in a picture there of us repairing a fan we actually used. It's kind of hard to get to. This building's very, very tall. And
Is that the street departments?
yeah, we borrowed the street department's truck, and that's kind of what I wanted to show, that we have a cooperation between using different equipment from different departments. And it worked out real well.
Is that where the dry goes into the building? Is that, you didn't turn that on when they were in there, did you, Dave?
No, actually, we worked out really well because we just had the building empty.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why we didn't have a catwalk built out over that. I don't know if it was an engineering oversight or just to save money or what. So John called him and asked him if they'd come down and help me do it while the building was empty. So.
That's what's left of the building, the pump building. It says Booster Station, Heath, Ohio, 1957.
Rumor was Steve fastened that to the building, but I'm
He
assuming
might
that's
have.
just a rumor.
Yeah. But he probably did. But I still have that. I don't know if we want to incorporate that with the new building, maybe somehow. I know there will be probably a new plaque on the new building, and we want to incorporate that in with it somehow too. So that's in my office. We'll try to clean it up, make it look a little nicer. There's a way you can acid clean those, and I put some urethane on them. Boy, they look like brand new. We did that at the water plant for the one down there, and it really turned out nice.
But do you want it to look brand new?
I don't
Want it to
know.
look
Yeah,
fancy?
maybe we
I know,
want.
for some of the shows that they look like you just made a new sign.
Yeah, now if I was a picker, you'd want to leave it natural.
Right,
There you go.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to mess with it.
It's 55 years out of anything else.
There was a building, actually, when we did some of the soil borings to determine what kind of foundation on the new building we would need. That's what the building looked like, and that's what it looks like after we demolished it. It's in a nice, clean container now. I know the mayor was concerned there for a little bit. He thought we were going to leave it that way, but it's in a nice container
FEMA
now.
claim.
That was a
man.
FEMA claim, storm damage.
Yeah, is that storm damage? Can we turn that in there?
There's a tree that blew on it, yeah.
Throw a tree on there. Take a picture.
There you go. Photoshop the
Want me to? I mean, I can submit that.
No, we better be on the up and up.
We are in the process of cleaning clarifiers, and we just wrapped it up down at the wastewater plant. We clean everything real good, check the, replace the brushes, check the mechanisms, make sure, tighten things up. If there's a rotating arm, it rotates, but the guys did a really good job cleaning everything up and making it look good and working on it. That kind of gives you an idea how big those clarifier tanks is. That's one of the summer help boys down in there hosing things down, and these clarifiers are huge. So, and that's part of the mechanism over here that we have to check to make sure that there's a certain clearance that has to be off the floor, because when you move the sludge around the bottom of it, it's got to be within a certain tolerance. And we put all new scrapers on the bottom. Those are brass scrapers, right?
Yes.
And
I bet those aren't cheap.
yeah, but that's a better picture of the mechanism. But actually, before we start cleaning it. So. We also was over last week. I think we were working on some pumps. This is the water department doing a pump repair down in Blue Jay Booster Station at the end of Watson Road and Blue Jay Road. Years ago, for some reason, when that was installed, I don't know if that was in '69 or whatever, but they thought that pump stations needed to be underground. I don't know why, but anyway, that one is, and I don't know if it was protection of the pump, and
For the aesthetics.
maybe nuclear, whatever. It was probably the aesthetics. But what we ended up doing was putting a house over top of it, where we could walk in, and the controls were over that now. But at one time, everything was totally underground. So they're working on that, and put in a new pump there. And, that's Amanda Clark, Shane Farabee, and John Appleman is doing the work on that. Any question on wastewater?
Nobody would have any pictures of that.
Oh, we did.
When you working? Did I miss that?
Well, yeah, he's the one up in the bucket.
Oh.
That's his back right there.
Didn't you recognize him then?
Didn't you recognize him? That's him right there.
Good thing I had a yellow t-shirt on.
I'll just kind of go over the budget briefly. There's our numbers on our major funds. Of course, the wastewater replacement fund is what the jet aeration has already been taken out of that. So that's minus the original amount. It was $1,000,005 something, so it's $1,003. Also, when we do the Fox Run in 2013, that money will be taken out of the wastewater replacement fund, depending on the cost of that. Again, that's what that fund was been designed for, replacement of parts and stuff that are going bad in the wastewater portion of the plant and district and collection system. Other than that, that's all I have tonight. Unless you guys have any questions for me or anything I can answer.
I know you have people down there all the time to store them. Any other problems?
You know, the biggest factor that we had was trying to keep the generators full of diesel fuel. That was one of the biggest things. You know, I mean, we had like 17 generators that were running. You know, I kind of told you, just at the plants, we were running close to $3,000 a day in diesel fuel at the two plants. That was like $2,800 or $2,900 during that outage.
Certainly appreciate keeping the water running.
Yeah. It was one of the few things that was working. You could flush your
There were
toilets.
places
and
down in
you could
southern
get
Ohio
it
where
you
they
want.
didn't have that circumstance, and they were really scrambling to try to find fresh water for people to drink.
Southern Ohio, Jacksonville, my daughter.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
They're
by
on a water
dollars.
system that
They're on well.
oh, on well, no, I'm talking about municipal water systems that went down.
Oh, yeah.
And
Didn't have any electric.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate. I mean, you guys have always, council and the mayors, and have always put generators beside all the major pumps. We did have, we had like three. We have 3 lift stations that we have to take a generator to. We have a portable generator. There are smaller lift stations, and we'll go to one of the stations, like one of them's on Swainford Drive. We drive there, we start the generator up, we pump everything down, then we go to the next one.
the one down here on 79, do they have a generator on it?
Scioto doesn't.
Yeah.
That's that little apartment complex that community
And the
hospice.
ones out of Woodlands that doesn't have
And
one.
then the one that Woodlands doesn't have one. So we've made it so that you know, the generator could hook up to any one of those. We did that about a year and a half ago, something like that.
2 years.
Maybe 2 years ago. So that generator was capable of handling any of the 3. So we didn't have to have different generators.
Actually, even the stations that have generators, if something would happen to that generator,
They had some hookups too.
they have hookups. I think I'm all.
What did you do with those before you had wired to be able to plug into the mobile generator?
Yeah, I guess
Take the back.
I
truck
never had
around.
to do it,
Oh,
luckily, but
What you do, you take the back truck and you back it out into a container, which is
Then you
what is
have
that, 1,000-gallon container, or is it 500,000?
You dump that at the plant.
And then you take it back to the plant, you dump it. That's the other alternative to that. It takes a lot more diesel fuel, it takes a lot more manpower, you know, so,
yeah, because a lot of their stations would hold several loads. So.
yeah.
Oh, you have to do that. How many hours?
You were doing it what, twice or 3 times a day, 2 or 3 times a day?
It probably average about every 8 hours. Now, with this upgrade at Fox Run, we're planning on using that generator at the Woodlands. So that'll help them.
And Woodlands is the most logical one to use it because it has the most capability of future development.
Yeah,
So if that next phase ever goes in,
yeah.
which is
Because if
going
they
to
did, that would lift a lot more frequently than what it does now.
So, and yeah, the flow would be a lot, the flow would be a lot greater if we doubled the size of that. So having a generator there, I mean, we'd probably be there every 3 or 4 hours instead of every 8.
Anybody? Anybody? All right, thank you. 6:01.
Thanks a lot.
Wanted to have a conversation about the amount of potential increase to the tax credit. Tim, what's the proper forum for this